Caribou Weather Dude YouTube channel. Joey only sitting up here in the chair of infinite knowledge, 3,953 feet above sea level right here to talk to you about the wildfire situation in Western Canada today. Let's go.
There it is. This is bad news. My God. Anything can happen. Get on! Wow.
I'll watch the video later. I'm up in this.
Hit like, share, subscribe, tell a friend if you can. That keeps me in business. Thanks to all the donors. You're keeping me afloat here as I'm suffering through a very rainy fire season. Has not been any work for me yet this year. This channel is my only income provider right now. So thank you everybody who's kicking in and just watching every day. The ad revenue does keep us going. Okay, let's get to the news. Looking at current conditions right now, temperatures in the teens, maybe reaching 20 as you get through that one belt in Saskatchewan, but mostly looking at temperatures in the teens in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Alberta too, a couple spots are warmer as you go north. Quite cool, very wet and rainy down south. There is definitely a lot of rain moving through the BC and Alberta side right now as well. A little bit of activity in the fires up north, but generally a fairly quiet day with cooler temperatures and lower RH going on. Some of our problem areas for the fires are seeing a little better RH value in Saskatchewan, although as you get a little bit further to the west, that does go down, but still not anywhere near crossover conditions today. Same can't be said for Fort Nelson area where it was close to crossover conditions, but they have been taking a little bit of rain lately, so fires haven't been quite as active as they have been in the recent past. Fires in southern BC are responding to cooler conditions. Not as much activity today at K60922. The Hope Fire down there in the Washington State side showing some activity today. It will take rain later tonight and will likely calm it down. Even our fires in northern BC not showing a lot of activity today. A few spikes and dots, but more or less fairly quiet until you get a little further north where some fires are still showing a bit of activity up there in the Northwest Territory, such as VQ018-25. A couple more up there showing some activity. Now we go over to Saskatchewan where the activity that we are seeing today is on that west side where the humidity value is a little bit lower than it is in the interior areas where the fire activity seems to be quite low. Showing spread at the Door Fire, and to the north of that one, the Smith Fire showing a lot of activity today. It's probably the most active fire in Western Canada today. Oh, I guess you could say the most active fire in Canada. Then we look at Manitoba, a little bit quieter again today there. That is good because they've seen some very active burning days over the last week. Fire weather forecast showing drier conditions on Tuesday. However, fine fuels pretty wet in the northeast where we've been seeing all those fires over the last bunch of years, and fine fuels looking pretty good in the southeast of British Columbia. Things drying out a little bit more on the west coast in Vancouver Island, I should say, and the South Coast Mountains. The build-up index looking very, very low in the Rocky Mountains, Caribou Mountains, into the Prince George region. A little bit higher values in the Chilcotin and a little bit higher values in southwestern BC. Some of the desert areas still showing some risk of fire activity. They've not going to be taking near as much of this rain as that southeast corner, so values are very high in the northern Northwest Territories. Over on the Alaska side, values are very, very high. Things are very prone to burning up there. We're seeing very high values in Nunavut. Saskatchewan seeing still very high values despite the fact the weather is going to be down. Not going to see much for hot weather legitimately until maybe later in the weekend down there. However, we'll be waiting for the rainfall to take some effect into these regions. So if we look at the fire danger on CWFIS, that corresponds southern BC, looking pretty good. Southern Alberta, seeing a drop in the fire danger in Manitoba lately, and that's why we're not seeing very much active burning. Some reduction in Saskatchewan, however, that west corner especially is high and very, very ready to get active again. You go look at that northern section of Northwest Territories and the Yukon, very extreme up there. And we jump ahead to June 18th. we see a continued reduction, although a little bit of a drawing trend in Saskatchewan, a continued reduction more or less across the board. So this is very favorable to be in July and see these kind of fire values. It's not favorable for firefighters like myself, but it's favorable in the long run for everybody who's been really tired of how bad everything's been. Okay, well, if we look at the buildup index, still there's still problem areas that once we get some hot weather again, southwestern British Columbia being one. Of course, the Peace is still not in a great position. It's going to see warmer weather this week than much of the rest of BC once again. Same with the Northwest Territories. They're seeing warmer weather once again. Alberta's kind of prime if we get a good spell of hot weather at some point again, which doesn't seem to be the case this week. These areas are the danger areas that we'll be watching for to see an increase in activity. Nonetheless, we still have a very critical situation in Manitoba because, like I say, some hot weather returning again would mean a resumption of the extreme fire behavior in a lot of these regions that are showing less activity right now, but the problem isn't gone. The fires are just being calm, skunking around, hiding underneath logs and this and that in many cases, or underground. Still have that emergency warning over in this sector. That's the Garden Hill, Island Lake area. Then we have quite a few areas still showing not safe to return, mandatory evacuations for Tatasquayak Cree Nation at Split Lake, mandatory evacuation for Snow Lake, Manitoba, the town of Lynn Lake, Marcel Colomb First Nation, Leaf Rapids, also for Nopaming, Wallace Lake in South Attakaki, Attakaki Provincial Park, also Colomb Cree First Nation at Puckatawagan, the Mantario Wilderness Area, Burge Lake Provincial Park, and medical evacuation due to potential loss of road access for O'Pipin, Pewin Cree Nation and South Indian Lake. And I like that new MB Ready website, because when you compare that to the Saskatchewan active wildfire situation map, looks like it was made on Windows 95 or like AutoCAD 92 or something like that. I mean, they really need to invest some money in this, because you look at all the activity going on in Saskatchewan, and this is very vague, very vague. Like, you can't even zoom in and be like, it just says there's a cougar with a triangle there. So, you're really up to you to kind of know more about what's going on in Saskatchewan. I think that's very problematic. Not contained at Muskegon Trail and Door and Cummins, sure. But again, even the highways that you could use to sort of tell yourself, well, where are these fires in relation to things I might drive on or might know? It's very vague, and I just feel like everyone needs to demand better of the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency. So I hope that seems like a little bit of positive news, at least on the wildfire front for the time being, for a lot of people, because we've just had years of catastrophes in Western Canada. I know a lot of people would like to just have a summer that's not insane like that. I mean, there's been a lot of insane things in the weather, but nonetheless, people are tired, they're exhausted, they're traumatized from a lot of wildfires, and I appreciate that. And seeing things even reduce for a week or two in some places where it's been bad for a long time is positive. And of course, the fact that BC's had a very quiet season altogether, for a lot of you, is very, very positive news. I get it. Okay, well, hit like, share, subscribe. I'll keep the information coming for you, everybody. Take care. Bye for now.